The finale is about Ichito finally breaking free from the guilt that controlled his life for 17 years. What begins with him confronting his unconscious mother ends with him accepting his past, choosing his career for himself, and allowing himself to move forward with Yumi. The biggest revelation comes when Professor Toyohara explains what happened between Ichito's parents. Ichito always viewed his mother as the source of the family's sexual problems, but Toyohara gives him a different perspective. Ichito's father was a brilliant surgeon, but his perfectionism extended into his marriage. He tried to mold his wife into the perfect woman he wanted, controlling everything from her appearance to the way she lived. She eventually felt trapped and had an affair as a way of escaping that control. When Ichito's father discovered the affair, his anger was directed toward the other man rather than toward the wife he'd been controlling. Toyohara describes this behavior as a Pygmalion complex, the desire to create and control another person according to an idealized image. Ichito realizes that his mother's suffering wasn't the result of some personal sexual problem. She'd been living under someone else's control. This realization also changes how Ichito sees his own career. Toyohara asks whether becoming a sex therapist was really Ichito's choice or whether he chose it because he felt guilty for abandoning his parents. Ichito eventually admits that his career was partly an attempt at redemption. He wanted to somehow make up for what happened to his family. But by the end, Ichito decides to choose the profession again, this time because he wants to help people. That idea is reinforced through Yuka Namioka's story. Yuka tells Ichito about her professor Kurusu, who repeatedly invited her to private dinners and conferences, bought her clothes, and treated her in a way that made her feel more like a personal companion than a student. Kurusu never openly forced her into anything, but Ichito explains that the power imbalance itself made his behavior inappropriate. He recognizes the same pattern he saw in his father, one person trying to shape another person into the role they want them to play. Instead of condemning Kurusu, Ichito encourages him to seek therapy. This shows how much Ichito changed. He's no longer interested only in dealing with the consequences of harmful behavior. He wants to help people recognize those patterns before they cause lasting damage. While Ichito is confronting his personal history, Yumi is dealing with a similar issue professionally. Her television network is preparing a special called Future Women Leaders, and Yumi eventually proposes a feature openly discussing sex and the lack of sex education in Japan. She argues that women are often pressured into becoming versions of what society expects them to be, essentially turning them into dolls. Miku's involvement is important because she reminds Yumi that women shouldn't accept these expectations. She points out how female television personalities are constantly judged according to their relationships and personal lives, and encourages Yumi to challenge those assumptions. The resulting program, So You Want to Talk About Sex, gives Ichito the opportunity to do something he's never done before, publicly talk about the experience that shaped his entire life. During the live broadcast, Ichito shocks everyone by revealing that his father assaulted his mother's lover 17 years earlier. For years, Ichito carried that event privately. He even questioned whether better sexual education or sex therapy could have prevented his family from falling apart. But now he understands that he can't change what happened. Instead, he can use that experience to help other people. Ichito explains that he wants to help people like his mother, who may suffer silently, but also people like his father, whose unresolved issues can cause them to hurt others. That distinction is important because Ichito is no longer blaming one side of his family. He understands that sexual and emotional problems can affect everyone, and that silence often allows those problems to become worse. The broadcast becomes a huge success, with viewers responding positively to Ichito's openness. He talks about communication, contraception, consent, different forms of intimacy, and masturbation without treating these subjects as shameful. His central message is simple. People shouldn't suffer in silence. They should talk about their problems and seek help. In many ways, that message applies directly to Ichito himself. For years, he was unable to talk openly about his own family. By finally speaking about it, he stops allowing his past to control him. After the successful broadcast, Ichito and Yumi attend the Lantern Festival together, holding hands. Ichito tells her that it feels as though his inner clock, which stopped 17 years ago, finally started moving again. This is the emotional payoff of the entire finale. For most of his adult life, Ichito has been psychologically frozen at the moment his family fell apart. His career, his guilt, and even his understanding of sex and relationships were all connected to that trauma. But now he finally accepted that what happened wasn't his responsibility. What he can do is decide what kind of person he wants to be now. And that includes allowing himself to have a relationship with Yumi. The two kiss, given the relationship, the emotional resolution it's been building toward throughout the story. The finale isn't really about Ichito solving his parents' tragedy. It's about him realizing that he doesn't have to spend the rest of his life trying to solve it. His father's need to control his mother created one kind of tragedy. Ichito's guilt created another, trapping him in the past and making him believe that he needed to dedicate his entire life to atoning for something that wasn't his fault. By becoming a sex therapist for the right reasons, speaking publicly about his family's history, and finally opening himself up to Yumi, Ichito breaks that cycle. His mother's story was about being forced into someone else's ideal. Ichito's story is about finally choosing his own life. And when his inner clock starts moving again, it means he's no longer living for the past. He's finally ready to live for himself.